I can tell this is a fun group, and I'm really thankful to be here today. I would also like to take a minute and recognize the two UPS pilots that I saw introduced. They do an awesome job. Day in, day out, they're the best in the world. And then to my management team that's here today, I think they're just to see if I mess up and they can go back and tell all the other management what I did here. But I truly look forward to this. This is going to be a fun 20 minutes. I'm going to cover a lot of different topics, and there'll be time for questions if there's some interest. So, but as you can tell from the video, we're a complex, multinational, global logistics company. And we started very small, and I'll talk about that. But we are very, very grateful to be here in Louisville, Kentucky as an airline. I've been here now going on 13 years. I will tell you from my perspective, it's the best of the South mixed with the best of the Midwest. And the people are just unbelievable. My wife would tell you that her lifelong friends, the majority of her lifelong friends have been met while we've been in Louisville, Kentucky. So my hat's off to all of you. You've got a great town, and it's a privilege to have a chance to work here. As far as a Louisville connection, we have been here over 3 decades. And that is partially because of the location here. It's central to most of the population in the U.S., believe it or not. It also gets pretty good weather outside of a thunderstorm and some lightning bolts here and there. But also, it was very pro-business, very receptive to having an entity like UPS's airline be here. So it doesn't really surprise me that we can talk about over 30 years with Louisville and UPS working side by side. We have truly been the beneficiary of that relationship, and so I want you to know that, and I want you to, I want to say thank you to you. I'm probably just as proud of what we've been able to accomplish as UPS to our community, our greater community of Louisville and Indiana. We do quite a bit of charity work. We are the leading contributor to United Way, and we take great pride in that, so we look at ourselves as a leader in that regard. We, as you saw this weekend, if you watched Thunder, we also sponsored that, and we were fortunate enough to put one of our converted or our updated 767s with winglets, very environmentally friendly, fuel-efficient aircraft into the air show, and was very quiet too, for those of you that saw it. So having the opportunity to operate the airline now for 25 years, we've just celebrated our 25th anniversary. It's truly wonderful to be doing that in your backyard. Today I'm going to cover a lot of different topics, and I'm going to weave them around 3 themes. One concept is to transform, to strengthen. And I want to talk about transformation because if I'm going to talk a little bit about our history, but if you think about what we are today and where we started, it took quite a bit of transformation, and we're still doing that each and every day we operate. The other is to invest to grow, and there's no better example than that than right here what we've done in Louisville. So I want to talk about the investment we've put into our community. And then I want to talk a little bit about how we create value to our customers and where we see, if you will, the puck moving for us. And I think that'll give you some insights into global commerce and where we think we are headed. So in terms of transforming, I'll go back to our roots in Seattle. 106 years ago, in 1907, our founder, Jim Casey, and some of you have heard this story, I know, started our business in the basement of a saloon with a $100 loan and a partner and some bicycles, and decided to create a messenger service. And so they're very humble beginnings. His focus was clearly on one thing, and that was service above all else. And he constantly worked whatever the customer needed, he provided, and that's still our theme in UPS today. And it's our customers today that are driving what we're becoming and not what we've been. So in that capacity, he not only delivered messages, he delivered food, medicine, and according to our history, he delivered mugs of beer. I think you could, I'm not sure how you do that on a bicycle, but I think maybe, probably get away with it at Derby time. I could probably try it and nobody'd bother me. They were open 24 hours a day. They had 2 phone lines, one with each phone company. So now you're talking about 24 hours a day, complete service, amazing back then. They actually included or incorporated motorcycles into that operation, if you can believe it or not. So they upgraded the bicycles, went to high-tech motorcycles. So I think at that point in time, it was probably against the law to run around with a mug of beer on a moving motor vehicle, but that's another story. Fast forward to 1925, we became a United Parcel Service. We actually launched an air service during 1929, and we offered actually a package delivery air service up and down the West Coast, and it went as far east as Texas. So even back then, we were flirting with the idea of faster and faster delivery and actually being involved in the air service. Of course, we all know what took place around those times. We hit the Great Depression. And so after 8 months of launching that service, we had to fold the tent and we got back out of the air because it was just too expensive and there wasn't a market for it. So I guess that's another way of transforming, to go in and try something. If it doesn't work, get back out. And of course, timing's everything. Over the next 50 years, we continued to grow. We actually went through not just the Depression, we went through 20 recessions. We also went through a couple of world wars. And of course, we're faced today with the Great Recession, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But by the mid-70s, we were actually in all 50 states of the United States. And then we really started turning our attention going into the 80s to become a global presence. So now we're talking about global expansion over the last 35 years, of which, again, if we go back to our roots as an airline 30 years ago, that's where you start to see us enter into the air service business and becoming our own airline 25 years ago. Today we serve 220 different territories and countries around the world. We have an airplane in the air every second of every day of the year. We're that big. So, and like I said, our operations team does an outstanding job. They're the best of the best. We're very proud of the fact that we not only started the airline, but we were the fastest startup in FAA history, and basically put the airline together, got it certified, got it up and operational within a year. We now, talking about how big we are, 1,700 daily flight legs into nearly 800 airports around the world. We have our own jet aircraft. We also lease and partner with about 350 small airplanes around the country. It's a vast operation. Certainly keeps me busy. I like to tease my staff. In Europe is sending me emails when I get up in the morning, work kind of the US, and then Asia's sending me emails at night. So it's a great job. I love it, but I never get any downtime. It's just constant activity. Through all of this, even though we started this airline, I think you'd all agree that we're still best known for our package car drivers. Your driver, okay? Your UPS driver. And in fact, for you, that UPS driver probably has a name. It's probably an extension of your community, if not your family. And if you're like my wife, there's always something on the porch around Christmas time to say thank you for being a part of the neighborhood. And those drivers right now are moving more than 16 million packages a day for us. And that actually represents about 2% of the world's gross domestic product. So it gives you kind of a feel for the size. So we oftentimes are approached and asked what has happened in the economy, because we can be somewhat of a bellwether. So to Maria from the Fed, that's one of the things we talk about. Hopefully by now that you've seen our new tagline, our advertising. It's called "We Love Logistics." And yes, I do love logistics. And so hopefully you've kind of, but you may not know what that means. I mean, we've used a lot of taglines over the years. And so let me give you a feel for what we think of logistics. And it can be, the one thing I do like about it, it can be almost anything we want it to be. But for us, particularly here in Louisville, it is customs brokerage. Okay, we've got a lot of international, global travel taking place right in our own town. We are a global city, whether we recognize it or not, and I will come back to that. We offer financial services. We offer warehousing. I'm going to talk about the outer loop area and all the buildings we've put up. We can pick, we can pack, we can do things for companies. We can do things that they themselves would prefer not to do. It's not their core competency. We can do it better, faster, higher quality, lower cost for them. We help to make them competitive and allow them to give their customers an outstanding customer experience. So that's how we plug in the logistics space. And I'll give you some examples here in a minute. One of the areas that we've talked a lot about, and maybe you've heard, is that we're expanding into healthcare. It's a rapidly expanding business for us. I'm excited about it because they love the airline and they love fast air movement. So I get a lot of business out of that as a business unit. But what you may not know is we actually have some of the pharmacy works outside of the airport property on that outer loop area, into runway is what we call it. And we actually have pharmacies, and we employ pharmacists. And you wouldn't think that UPS would employ pharmacists, but we do. We've got an extensive cold chain network, so we move things that are temperature sensitive all over the world for the healthcare industry, and it's expanding for us. Again, more air volume for the business unit of UPS Airlines. But what you may not know is we go so far as we actually store and ship human tissue just outside the airport property. And you can imagine how sensitive that is and how precise you have to be to do that right. And the beneficiaries of that are diabetes patients that need that time-definite service. So we work really hard to get it to them early in the morning, early AM, so that they're ready for surgeries or whatever they need. So everything's fresh, everything's real time, and it takes quite a bit of precision. We're very proud of the fact that we can be in that market space and do so well at it, because it's an expanding market for us. But we also repair laptops for Toshiba. If you were to go into our Toshiba facility, you would see that UPS employees are wearing Toshiba polo shirts, are talking to Toshiba customers, and the customers would think they're talking to Toshiba. But they're actually employed by UPS. We do that for Toshiba because we can do it better, faster, quicker, with just the same quality. And it's just a fascinating relationship, and they know exactly what they are. They will tell you they're UPSers, but they are so loyal to Toshiba that it's a business model that works, and we've replicated that. So we kit cameras for Nikon. We create special packaging for Martin guitars. You may have heard that, very specialized guitar. Bentley Motor Parts, we make packaging for that. You can imagine Bentley has very high standards for quality. We actually program cell phones for Sprint to help them with their supply chain and speed that up and minimize their inventory. And what this all means in terms of logistics is we can help customers, businesses in almost any form or fashion because of our transportation reach and our ability to basically move and enter into spaces that they would otherwise not want to occupy as a business unit. And we can do that and allow them to work on their core competencies. So it's a great relationship. We have great dialogue. It takes a team. Some of these arrangements, as you can imagine, are quite complex. But that's how we've transformed. Now I want to talk a little bit about investing to grow. And I think we all understand that we all want to grow. The city wants to grow. Your businesses want to grow. Certainly UPS is determined to grow. And it does take investment. And there's no better example of that for UPS but here in Louisville. So let me talk about that, and we'll go into Worldport and we'll talk about our airplanes. If you take Worldport to UPS Airlines, and you take all the capital, the invested capital that we have, it is more than half the invested capital of all of UPS worldwide, right here in Louisville. It's great. I didn't expect an applause. Normally I swallow hard because that's a lot of responsibility. But I'll tell you, it's in great hands. But that invested capital is centered right here in our city, and we're very proud of that, and I think we've chosen wisely. Since 1982, we really had a very small sorting facility. It was, we only did 2,000 packages our first night. Now we're sitting in Worldport. It's a $2 billion investment for us. It's 5.2 million square feet. Do you believe that? It's got nearly 9,000 people that run the sort. We process 1.6 million packages a day. I will tell you, during peak season, we did back-to-back 2 sorts, day and night, where we processed 2 million packages in each sort, so a grand total of 4 million packages in a 24-hour period. I've never, ever seen anything like it. It's fascinating. So you might say, well, how do you do that? Well, one thing, a reference point, it's bigger than the Pentagon, okay, so it's really big, okay? And some of you see that, but it's hard to get scale unless you're up in the sky. I know our pilots see it all the time. I can process 416,000 packages an hour. That's a lot of packages. We can still expand it even more if we wish to. We use cutting-edge technology, sortation, cameras, diverters. For some of you that have had a chance to be through the facility, I'm sure you enjoyed it. It's like an industrial Disneyland. It really is. I could show you a video, but it wouldn't do its service. You almost have to stand in it. We have over 155 miles of conveyor belts. Boy, you got to see the maintenance people try to keep track of that. And we can take one of our planes, when one of our crew members, our pilots, bring the plane in, they're great. They just nose it in. We start unloading the cans. We can unload that can into the building and then have it back in the can that's supposed to go outbound in 13 minutes through that facility. Do you believe that? I mean, it's really, truly a work of art. We've been on TV. We've had shows dedicated to it. But But all you need to do is spend $2 billion on a big facility, buy 233 state-of-the-art jets, hire the best pilots in the world, hire the best mechanics in the world, live in Louisville, Kentucky, and you can do the same thing. Right? So after all this, okay, we employ 20,000, well, a little bit more than 20,000 employees in Louisville. We go back and forth with Walmart as to who's the largest employer in Kentucky. It's not so much the size, how big we are. I think it's, we really want to be a great employer, a good employer. We want to be respected by you. And so we work very hard at that. But I'm proud to say that Louisville International, it's truly an international airport, is the 10th busiest cargo airport in the world. So we're truly, whether we believe it or not, we're on the map. I mean, we are on the global map in a big way, and we're very proud to have been part of that and help us get there. But it's a great compliment to Louisville. I talked a little bit about the supply chain solutions out at our Loop campus. We have almost nearly 4 million square feet under roof of warehousing over there to support our customers, and that's within 10 distribution centers. But just as important, it's helped us to grow the local economy. Since 1990, we've had 156 different companies come into this area, just specifically to be close to Worldport, be close to the airline, and be in that distribution center. So we've brought in a lot of employment. It's created 12,000 jobs and an annual payroll estimated at $300 million for the local community. So we're very proud to be a part of that. And the question is, why are they doing that? Well, if you can get right next to what we do and we're good at it, you can actually tender us a package very, very late at night. We'll get it on our jet and we'll get it to its destination the next morning. And in fact, I've got a great story. We actually had a customer who called our call center because they were concerned. We had picked the package up after midnight, so now it was like 1 o'clock or 12:30 in the morning, and it actually arrived on their doorstep at 10:30, and they were calling because they were concerned that we gave them same-day service, and they did not want to be charged for that. They had asked for next day. Now, that's what I'm calling enhancing your customer experience. So I love that story, and that's what you can get, if you bring a warehouse into Louisville, and we have more and more of our customers that are looking at Louisville as their home in the future. So that's good for all of us. So obviously logistics is a sum of 1,000 details executed well. I think all of us would know that. I'm sure from the people that I've met in here, you're all very successful, and you understand that nothing is easy. It takes a lot of planning, effort, and coordination. We have very dedicated people that do that. Like I mentioned earlier about the weather, we do have 5 meteorologists. We like to talk about this because most companies don't have a meteorology group. Ours is so good and works so closely with our operations that we work with the National Weather Service as well. And we actually pull information off our aircraft and we share that with the National Weather Service, and our models are very, very accurate. And so we track weather all over the world because that's our #1 variable. If you ask me, the #1 thing that we work on all the time, it's weather somewhere in the world. So everybody knows what they're doing. They're very safe in doing it, but the weather can be very fickle at times. And so that's the value proposition of the meteorologist, and they're very good at what they do. Good example is at Christmas time, if you can remember back that far, we had a few weather events, particularly in the Midwest, just north of us. And so during that, our crews and management people went about relocating 50 jet aircraft out of the way of weather, bringing it here to Louisville where we could process the volume and keep everything moving. Because the last thing we want to do during our peak season, which is Christmas, is stop our operation. And we do that routinely every peak season or every Christmas time. It's just part of the requirement of staying flexible. I want to shift a little bit and talk about education, because this is also a way to invest to grow. And I know education's very near and dear to many of you in here. We have a program called Metro College, and some of you may have heard of that, but I want to make sure that everybody understands it. We take great pride in being a socially responsible company, being a community advocate, being a supporter of the community, and this program has been very successful for us. We've been doing it now for 15 years. In essence, we provide full tuition for community college or U of L here in Louisville for those students that wish to work at our night sort, and they work part-time, and then during the day go to school. And so it's a way for students that might not otherwise be able to afford college to actually work their way through school. We give them the experience of work. They get the great education either from U of L or JCTC, and they come out with a college degree. Then what we've done is, in addition, we've offered the community the graduates. So if we don't have full-time positions for those part-time students that just get degrees, we will help place them in the community at large, anywhere in Kentucky. And we do get the support from the state, and we do get support from local government, and it is truly a partnership, but we're trying to find innovative ways to develop skills and talent, a global perspective, and then offer it back to the community so that that investment then can grow and grow for other companies as well. And so that's part of our give back. We're very proud of the Metropolitan College. It does help us with our turnover at the hub, so there's something that we gain out of that. But if I could bring a student up and have them talk to you today, they would do 10 times better at describing the benefits. I mean, it's just enough. I get choked up every time I hear them in front. And we've had nothing but great support from the mayor and the governor. And so I appreciate that, and hopefully some of you in business can take advantage of those employees as they graduate. In addition to Metro College, we have a company-wide college education program called Earn and Learn. That students earn money towards college tuition in 51 locations across the country, so it's not just here in Louisville. And many of our managers and employees have been successful in earning their way through college doing that. They work in our daytime operation. And then we also have a program for high school students. It's called School to Work program, and that's here locally, where high school kids can work with us, and they go to school and they get college credit in their senior year, and it helps to advance them into their college education. So we believe that education is an excellent investment. It's a needed step, and if we're going to compete globally, we just need all work on that together. So we're very proud of the work that we're doing with education here in Kentucky. I'll move on to creating value. We have been always looking at ways to enhance our value and our services to our customers. Over the years, our customers have been very dynamic. As you can imagine, coming out of a recession, they're looking for solutions. They're looking for any speed they need, and sometimes they need to go fast, sometimes they need to go slow. They're looking for low-cost solutions, and they're adapting to global commerce in different ways. I'll give you an example. E-commerce, and I always get this question, what's happening with the Amazons and the Zappos, which are obviously a big part of our community as well? Well, it continues to grow. We've always moved the packages. We either move them into inventory at the bricks and mortars, or we move them direct to the consumer in a residential delivery. But to give you a feel, it was just a few years ago that our business to consumer or to residential, if I can use that, was just 20% of our shipping rate. And now, today, it's 40%. So that's a huge increase in the amount of online traffic and ordering that we're seeing. And so UPS is right there. We're plugging in. We'll give it to you any speed you need. You want to go fast, you want to go slower, we'll do that. And we're trying to be very flexible because in today's world, the customer's king. And we basically try to provide the customer solutions that they need. And we believe if we do that, they will ask us to continue to support them. One of the things that we offered that hopefully you might be using is called My Choice. It's an application that you can put on your iPhone or you can have on your computer. And if you'd like to try it, just plug yourself in to ups.com. It's free. And what it does is it tracks your package. So if you have a package that's coming to you, it will notify you what day it's going to show up and where it's going. And it's proactive. And then if you want to be a premium member, you can get additional services. You can redirect your package. You can change its address. You can have it sent to your neighbor. You can have it put to a UPS store. So we're trying to come up with innovative ways to be part of e-commerce where you're in charge. You tell us what you want and we'll get it there. And we can do that with the same types of technology that we're using in Worldport. So we're changing, we're adapting, we're transforming, we're trying to find value. And we certainly think that, how am I doing time-wise? Okay? Okay. We certainly think that the future for us in terms of adding value and growth is going to be international. If you think about the UPS or US population, it's roughly 3 million. If you think about the Earth's population, you've got 6 billion. So think about that in terms of demographics. So if you think about it in our terms like we think, 95% of the population, the consuming population, is outside of the United States. So we really think there's a huge global opportunity. You may be involved in global trade. We know that there's about 57 million Americans that work for companies and engage in global commerce. 7 million U.S. jobs depend on manufactured exports. And we know exporting businesses are growing about 8.5%, 9% faster than those that don't. So one of the things I always do is encourage global commerce. One, because we truly do give you global reach here in Louisville. And if you talk to the mayor, he's obviously interested in export. And I think Louisville's got tremendous talent, tremendous goods, and there's a lot of things that we could export to the world. All we have to do is let them know how great we are here and what we can make. And I'll be happy to give you a ride wherever you want to go. Okay. There's another thing too. For every 22 packages that cross the border for UPS, it creates a job for us. So it's a job creator and a good one. We've signed a number of free trade agreements that we're very proud of. We're plugged into South Korea, Colombia, and Panama last year. We're very active in Vietnam. So there's other things going on, but the thing that we need to remember here is this is Worldport. It all comes through here, right? It comes back out. So we have, our stretch is really your access. I'll move on for the sake of time. Let me keep going. Apologize. Because I've got a lot of stuff here about trade, but I don't think I'm going to go into that. I'm going to accelerate. I'm going to kind of pull up here and say, hopefully I've given you a feel for some of the initiatives that we're working on. And I will tell you that as far as globalization, and encourage you, if in my travels, if I were to take you to Europe, companies start international or global to start with. If I go to Asia, there's certainly intra-Asia, which is very big, it's half the globe, or they look at themselves as international. And I'm always struck when I get back to the US and I talk to US companies because they don't look at themselves as an international business. And I would encourage you to look at your business as international by definition, and then contemplate how you wish to export and exchange your goods or services. It's easier now than ever. We can help you, by the way, so that's a plug for UPS. We've got a whole team that can help you get there. All you got to do is ask. But there are a lot more resources out there, and I think the city's heavily engaged, GLI, others, to help make that happen, the Kentucky Chamber. And I would just encourage you to think global. We've got a lot of great things in Louisville that we can share with others.